Hi everyone, welcome to another episode in my choux pastry series. This is episode 4, and in this one I'm going to show you how to make a Paris-Brest. And this is a dessert that its shape tries to mimic the route followed by this bicycle race, so you have a ring-shaped choux pastry. Now, before we get started, let me just stop you right there. If you haven't seen episode 1 to 3, please take a moment to go check those out, because in episode 1, I'm introducing the choux pastry recipe. I have a link in the description box. Go check it out because I will show you a lot of tips on how to get the perfect choux pastry there. In general, I'm adding markers throughout this video so you can see where to stop and have a look at the other episodes. So I'm adding those references in the video. I have all the links in the description box. So feel free to check those out before you continue. So the main difference is the shape of the choux pastry and the filling for this particular pastry. So I have a ring here. This is a cookie cutter. It's about 10 centimeters in diameter. And I'm using my template technique, which is just to take that cookie cutter or whatever ring you have and just dip it in some flour and then print your mat with it, and you see that shape just with the flour on the cutter itself. And you can use that as a template so that you get evenly shaped choux pastry rings. You can have the choux pastry as it is, or you can have some toppings. I'm going for the classic sliced almonds on top, or you can also have the Craquelin topping that I showed you in my profiteroles video. So let me show you both techniques in this video. For the sliced almonds topping, you just place your hands on the mat so that when you shake off the excess, you don't move the pastry too much. Now for the Craquelin, again, all of these recipes that I'm quoting from previous episodes are all linked in the description box. And I have a very thin layer of Craquelin here, so I'm gonna try to cut out a ring-shaped Craquelin, and for that I need 2 cutters. The bigger one will have the same size as my template for the choux pastry earlier on. That's about 10 centimeters, and I'm gonna just get those circles out of the way. Now for the inner part, I'm using a 5 centimeters. And basically, I'm trying to have the width of the ring be as big as the width of the choux pastry ring, so that it covers it completely. So it's as simple as that. The Craquelin is nice and cold, so it's easy to work with. You can just remove the parts that you need and reuse the rest. You can use this for profiteroles, eclairs, whatever you like. Now simply transfer the Craquelin on top of that choux pastry and gently press it down. Make sure it's nicely centered. And these are gonna go into a 150 Celsius, 300 Fahrenheit oven for about 45 minutes until very golden brown. You have to let them cool completely before you attempt to fill them. And the filling is what sets this guy apart from eclairs or profiteroles. And that's because we're gonna use a crème mousseline. And this is kind of a richer version of that delicious crème diplomate. The crème diplomate uses a custard-based cream with some whipped cream incorporated to make it lighter. And the crème mousseline doesn't use whipped cream, it uses butter. So it is richer, and that means it can really do crazy things with the piping. There is a lot of filling usually in a Paris-Brest, so do go in whichever direction you feel comfortable with. So I'm starting here with my custard base. It's very similar. Again, we have a mixture of egg yolks, cornstarch, and sugar, to which we add some warm liquid, in this case milk. you add it slowly so that you don't curdle those egg yolks in there. So you do it steadily and very slowly. Once you incorporate all of that hot liquid, then you can add the entire mixture back into the pot for it to thicken up. You put that back in the heat and you keep an eye on it all the way until it thickens up. And that's a general rule with custards. This is pretty much what you always do. The recipes may differ in terms of quantities here and there, but the technique is the same. So once your custard is ready, you can strain this into a bowl so that you can chill it and be ready for the next stage. So you will need to chill this for at least 1 hour before proceeding, and I always recommend that you put some cling film right on top of the custard, so that prevents any skin from forming. After the 1 hour mark, you can finally move on with the crème mousseline, starting with the butter. We have room temperature butter here that I'm gonna beat with a mixer, and it has a whisk attached to it because we want to build a lot of air. Once it's all nice and smooth, you can add the custard. You can see that the custard has thickened up nicely, and you just add it to the butter and mix away. So in principle, you only need the custard component and the butter, but I'm taking this cream to the next level by adding some praline, just to give it a different flavor from the usual vanilla. And I'm adding that flavor at the end. You can add whatever flavor you like. For example, Nutella or peanut butter, and any other flavor really. The one thing is that you have to try every time you add a little bit into the cream, just try it and make sure it's to your liking. So after a few minutes, our cream is ready. You can see that it's super airy and it's nicely whipped and ready to go. So I'm gonna scoop all of this into a piping bag attached with a star nozzle, because I'm gonna pipe this directly onto my choux pastry. And like I said earlier in the video, you can pipe as much of this filling onto your pastry as you like, because it's very stiff, so it's very forgiving in terms of how much you can actually put as filling into it. So you can use a round tip if you like. I like the star tip because I want to do some swirls, but it's really up to you how you want to decorate this, because in the end the filling is part of the decoration. So here I have one of those beautiful donut rings. It really looks like a donut or some sort of bagel. So the traditional thing is to cut it in half. And you should have a nice and hollow choux pastry ring. And yeah, just remove the top part for a second. This is the Craquelin one, for example. It's really nice and crispy. And just go with it and pipe whatever shape you like. I'm just doing a nice swirl on top, just twisting as I go on. If you have a turntable, that's excellent for this sort of thing. You can do a second layer. You can be as generous as you like. But I think this is an appropriate amount of filling for me. And that is basically it. You can decorate with some more praline on top. I like dusting my finished product with a little bit of icing sugar on top. But these are the basics that I wanted to show you. And if you would like to find out more about choux pastry, please let me know in the comments. If you have any suggestions, I will be happy to look at those as well. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and share this so that I can continue to bring you all of these recipes and more tips and tricks, and of course more techniques. And don't forget that by doing this and supporting the channel, you also make sure that my content is available to everybody for free. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.